One of my more recent quarantine projects was going through this huge closet that I have in my apartment and pulling everything out and completely reorganizing it. When I did this, one of the things that I found in there is this old canvas bag filled with all this film stuff that my dad gave me like 6 or 7 years ago when I first started really getting into photography. There's a lot of film equipment in there and a lot of stuff I generally just have no idea how to use, so I didn't bother ever figuring it out. It was one of those things, I'd be like, yeah, this is the year I'm gonna shoot on film, finally, and I'm gonna figure out how to do it. And then I would just continuously not do it. So I don't know if it's just because I needed to justify keeping this bag in the closet when I have so little space to begin with, or if it's one of those COVID things where I'm like, oh my god, finally, it's just time to do this. But I just decided, you know what, I'm finally gonna learn how to shoot on film. The two cameras that I have, they're pretty different. One is a Snapsights camera, which when I looked it up online was advertised as being great for traveling. I think it's because it's really small, it's light, and it's basically a point and shoot. It seems very similar to a disposable camera, where you can't control the focus, you can't control the lighting or anything, you just put the film in and you go. The other camera that I had was a Canon. This one has a lot more control with it because you can actually set the aperture and you could set the focus within it. The aperture ring on this specific camera was also broken, so a lot of the time when I was taking photos, I was just totally guessing whether or not I was at the right aperture. I was very nervous that everything I took with this camera would just end up being pure white overexposed or pure black completely underexposed. I took the two cameras with me pretty much everywhere. You can check it out right now. The Snapsight had pretty good color for the photos. Like, I was really surprised. I think some of them had that really nice film quality to them, and they just felt so summery and fun, even though I took them all in like late fall when things were pretty gray and gross outside in real life. This camera, I can see why it's advertised as a travel camera because it works fantastic in bright light and it's so small and easy to carry around. Like, I'd have it in my pocket and completely forget. But the downside to this camera was it did not work in low light at all. There was a lot of just failed photos because I took it around one night. I think it was the last night I was trying to finish up the roll of film. 0 of those photos worked, and absolutely none of them. So I would definitely use this camera again when I'm able to go on a vacation, but I would probably still be using my phone to take photos at night. The Canon, I think, looks a little more like what you expect from a film camera. Like, it's pretty cool. It was fun to take out, and I mean, I didn't take that many photos of people because it's quarantine, you gotta socially distance, but I think it would be a good camera to do that with. Like, sometimes it's hard to get people to want to take photos, but if they see it's a cool camera like that, they're much more willing. I mean, obviously the downsides to this camera were that it was broken, and it's also quite heavy. It's not the kind of thing you could just throw in your pocket and carry with you, but the photos that I took with it just turned out really nice. I liked the level of control that I had with the focus and with the aperture. And unlike the Snapsights, I mean, I was actually able to be a little more artistic with some of the photos I took. Prior to this, I was not anti-film, but I was definitely of the belief that, like, why would you shoot on film? You don't really get anything from it that you don't get digitally, and I don't believe that anymore. I definitely think digital photography has so many advantages that really make it a much easier medium, but I mean, film is fun. I think you get this really beautiful quality to the photos that you just can't really replicate digitally in quite the same way. I didn't really care if every photo turned out great. I don't really intend to add any of these to a portfolio or do anything with them. It was just a fun little quarantine experiment to do.